There's a lot of things that you should do after you launch your store, but one of the few things I recommend every store owner do, either before launch or immediately after launch, is to set up Google Analytics. And that's because the service is so useful to understand where people are coming from and what they're doing on your store before they buy. It's also a free service, so it won't take any of your limited funds. You can set it up early and just let it collect data for a while. Even if you don't use it for a year, when you do eventually decide to use it, you'll have a ton of useful data. What you don't want is to get stuck in a place where you need the data and it's not set up, and you have to wait a month to get solid data, and in that month your business gets into trouble. There's a free plugin built by the WooCommerce team that will send all of your traffic and e-commerce data to Google Analytics. This plugin will handle all of your needs and you don't have to have another Google Analytics integration. Now, if you're already using a different plugin for Google Analytics such as Monster Insights, then you'll either have to switch analytics plugins or you can get their e-commerce add-on. I'm going to show you the free WooCommerce Google Analytics integration. Let's go back to our site where we can install and configure it. So I'll go to Plugins, Add New, and I'm just going to type in WooCommerce and Google Analytics. This one is built by the WooCommerce team, so that's what we want. Let's install this and activate it. Once it's installed and activated, let's click the little banner to set it up. You can also get to this by going to WooCommerce and then Settings. The top field is your Google Analytics code. When you create an account, you'll get a different code for every single site that you track. I'll just go ahead and type in a fake UA number here. The domain name is optional, and we can skip that. Let's scroll down a little bit further. If you're using another analytics plugin, then you can turn this on. This will capture non-e-commerce data, such as page views. We can scroll down a little bit further, and I definitely recommend turning on Universal Analytics. If you created a new analytics account in the last year or two, this is probably already enabled in your Google Analytics account. If you have an older account, then you might need to turn this on in your Google Analytics account. You can follow the instructions right here. Universal Analytics will give you a lot more data and it's entirely free, so it's definitely worth a few more clicks. This checkbox down here, Purchase Transactions, is the entire reason we're using this integration. It will track how much people buy and will give you really solid e-commerce data in Google Analytics. And the last thing is Enable Enhanced E-commerce. If you have this turned on in your Google Analytics account, go ahead and turn it on here. This will give you even more e-commerce data. Now that we're tracking all the things, click Save Changes, and we're done. We can even dismiss this. If you're really big into Google Analytics, there's a premium plugin from WooCommerce that will give you much greater control and lets you label specific events in your store and send them to Google. It is definitely not needed if you're just getting started, but as your store gets bigger, you may want to refine and customize the data you track in Google Analytics, and then you may want a more configurable produce like this. If you want a refresher on Google Analytics, there's a very thorough course here in the library. Check out Google Analytics Essential Training. There's also WordPress plugins, Analytics by yours truly here in the library. If you want to see me configuring analytics plugins step by step, another service that's worth setting up before or right after you launch is Mailchimp or any other newsletter service. Reaching out to a customer and getting them to return is so much easier than getting a brand new customer. Some studies have put it at 9 times easier, and putting customers on a newsletter and messaging them occasionally is one of the easiest ways to do that. There's a ton of software out there that can do this. I'll be using Mailchimp as it's a pretty beginner-friendly option, and they have a free plan. There's also the free plugin made by Mailchimp. Let's go ahead and install and activate this plugin. I'll go to my site, type in Mailchimp. Here's the one, Mailchimp for WooCommerce. Install now and activate. And the first thing you do is you have to put in your API key. I'll go over to my Mailchimp account and you can find your API key under my account. Then, under Extras and API Keys, you can scroll down here and here you can see a list of API keys. You can go ahead and create a new one if you haven't yet. I'll copy this one, go back to Mailchimp and paste it in. Once I do that, you'll see it automatically opens up my account and loads my lists. Before we can do that, let's go ahead and make sure we have all this required information set. We can go ahead and set a few more defaults here. And now we can see the individual lists in our account. So I have my generic newsletter and a newsletter for a specific event. I generally recommend one list per store because it's easier to have one list and segment your list with e-commerce data that gets attached to each user. Segmenting is a complex topic that we could talk endlessly about, but for right now, just go ahead and start with one list in your Mailchimp account and select it right here. If you're in Europe, there's one additional setting that you should change. You should make sure to ask your users for permission before signing them up for your list. Not doing so violates GDPR laws in Europe. And even if you're in the US, it's still a very good idea to have users opt in. Mailchimp just synced our products with their services, so now they know what products we have in our store and who bought what. In addition, every time someone checks out, they have the opportunity to opt into our list. And it'll mean we can spend a lot less on customer acquisition moving forward. You may have heard of this small social media network called Facebook. Facebook has over 1 billion users. They're absolutely massive, and if you want to get your store in front of a lot of eyeballs, having a Facebook presence in general and running Facebook ads is a great place to start. There's a free plugin made by Facebook, which has a ton of features. My favorite feature is an easy way to configure the Facebook pixel. This is used for advertising. It tells Facebook who is using your site, and with that data, you could remarket to those people. You could even create lookalike audiences, which are people who look and behave similar to the visitors on your site, but haven't visited. I've used Facebook ads for some of my own products and generated hundreds of leads, which converted into actual sales, and it can be highly effective. Let's install, activate, and configure this plugin. I'll go to my site, go to plugins, and let's go ahead and search for Facebook for WooCommerce. Here we go. And activate, we'll see a little prompt telling us to complete setup. Let's click that. Let's get started. I'm already logged into Facebook. Let's go through this wizard by Facebook. We'll click on Next. Now we can select one of our pages and make sure it is a published page, otherwise you won't see it here. H+ Sport doesn't have a Facebook page, so I'm going to show you with a different brand I run called Blue Sky Kites. So I'll select that Facebook page and make sure it is published, otherwise you won't see it here. Let's click Next. Install the Facebook pixel. We do already have a Facebook ad account, so let's use the H+ Sport pixel. You can create a new one here if you don't have one already. We can import our products to Facebook. This will be helpful for running ads later. And we're ready to go. Let's go back to our site. We can see that our site is still syncing, and we should be done. When you finish, you should be good to go. To make sure everything is working, there's a handy Chrome extension that we could install that'll check the status of the Facebook pixel, which again is the main reason I'm setting up this integration. So let's add this to Chrome. We can see it up here. Let's go back to H+ Sport and we'll view the front end. We can click into the Facebook pixel, one pixel found, and we can see what data it is sending and for what account it belongs to. Once I've confirmed this, we can either hide or delete this extension. Now we're sending a lot of data to Facebook, and after a few hundred visits, you should be able to create ads to target visitors and lookalike audience. Again, this is a free plugin. It's probably worth setting up, just so you have this data in case you need it down the line.